Hi, I'm Gordon Burkell from Filmmaker U. At Filmmaker U, we create courses for film professionals to deepen and diversify your existing skill set. You can learn more at filmmakeru.com or, of course, follow us on Instagram at filmmaker_u. Every week, we interview a film professional to discuss their work, and this week I'm joined by Christopher Norr and Marcell Rév, cinematographers for Apple TV Plus's The Changeling. Welcome to the show, guys.
Hello.
Hey, thanks for having us.
I guess I do have one question, I guess, to start off with for Christopher. When I was going through your bio and your history, you worked with Sven Nykvist and Gordon Willis, and I'm wondering, is there any stories or any knowledge that you picked up from them that people might not know about?
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like everyone you work with through your journey in this industry has an impression on you, and especially Sven Nykvist and Gordon Willis were both big influences on me. I worked with Sven on a Woody Allen movie. I was a camera intern or loader back then. And I was kind of amazed with him because, everyone was so technical up until then. And I would hear him talk to the gaffer and he would just go like, a little more sunshine from the window. That was his directions, and I was like, oh, that's what it's about. It doesn't necessarily have to be like, spot up the light or whatever technical term. It was more like, I just want to feel a little more sun coming from that window. And that's how and maybe it was a language barrier a little bit, but anyway, Gordon had done a lot of commercials with, but I was always a big fan of his. And I don't remember anything walking away other than having a breakfast with him once in a diner before a commercial. But again, I feel like you take away, even people that are not talented that you work with, you take away information because you learn like, oh, why is this person not really the greatest, and you analyze that in your head and you realize, oh, well, I won't do that when I grow up to be a DP, so.
I've been a camera person for 30 years and I fell in love with cinema. I heard there was free film school in France and I wanted to get into the French film school. I really didn't know anything at the time, but I knew at least how to take pictures. So I said, I'll try for the image department. And then when I miraculously got into the French film school, I fell in love with working with the camera. You're following what's going to be in the movie. So that immediacy that the camera allows is what I loved from the beginning. I'm Kirsten Johnson, and this is my course about documentary cinematography.
Amazing. Well, I guess to stay in that vein of not staying in the technical and more about story, like when you guys approached, the Changeling, how did story guide you in coming up with the look and feel for this series?
It's a fairy tale, so that determines a lot of things in terms of visuality, I guess. And when we were like thinking about it with Melina, who directed the first episode, we definitely started to think about what that would mean in 2023 and how we can translate that. I mean, we thought it had to be grounded in some kind of reality, but at the same time, you had to feel that anything can happen in this version of New York City. And we just wanted to create something that allowed that freedom.
What were some of the?
I mean, if the question involves how that translates to technicality, then it's a very long, story. But we can go into that too.
I was going to say, where did the fairy tale elements sort of appear in the look for you guys?
On a technical level, we were looking for something. I mean, something mysterious in terms of like when you translate that into it's lensing. It's like picking the right lens for that. Is that allowing it to be a little obscure, not having it too sharp, to not revealing every part of the image, lighting it in a way that there's a lot of silhouettes, there's a lot of foreground to it, there is a lot of I don't know, just by picking your aspect ratio, we went with, and yes, all that. And yeah, of course, it involved a lot of testing with what kind of LUT we came up with. I think Chris can talk a lot about that LUT, because it was a very heavy LUT.
I love your
that
LUT,
was it was great because it was beautiful, but it was like challenge. It required a lot of light in certain situations, and also I think so. So the way we came up with that look is that we did actual film printout tests. And Tom Poole, the colorist for the first episode, he came up with this idea to print it on Ektachrome, which is a reversal stock, and you can just do a printout on it, and it turned out to be pretty beautiful. And we were trying to have the whole show printed out on Ektachrome and rescan it, but that was budgetary. That was not something that was realistic.
Yeah.
So, but by having that test, we could mimic that look in the DI, and we came up with kind of a lot that allowed us to push it that far in the grading, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I guess, Chris, what went into creating this LUT for the project? Because it sounds like you played a big role in that.
I actually didn't. It was all Marcel. I mean,
yeah, but he
I
was
really
the
did.
one who ended up with the LUT there, having to light it throughout.
I mean, it was a beautiful LUT.
The whole season.
I very much enjoyed it very much, but yes, you had to light it more. So it's like you're working in the digital age, but lighting like you're working with like 50 ASA stock. But I just, again, like Marcel started everything, so I kind of just ran with what he started and evolved it from there, because it is a fairy tale and it's a story that was evolving constantly. So I took that license to evolve it in the ways that the story needed to evolve as it went further down the fairy tale.
Interesting. I talked to the editors about the editing process for this series, and one of the things they touched on was that it wasn't a traditional story structure that they would sort of approach in their edit, and there was a lot of sort of things that they would do in the cut that you wouldn't see in a Marvel film or what have you, and that sort of guided them on their story building. I'm wondering, because the story, doesn't necessarily follow the traditional structures, did that influence you guys in the lighting of this? Like, I think the first two episodes feel like the pilot or the first episode, because they both play a foundation in building the story for us.
Since it's multiple storylines, that's the, like, technically speaking, that's the biggest challenge. It's always a big challenge because you want to differentiate, but you also want to feel like it's the same, you're watching the same thing, like the same show. So yeah, we had like different LUTs for the different storylines, different LUTs for the different time period, and yes, I mean, in terms of like what's commercial and what's like kind of like what you're used to on television, this show's definitely darker, I guess.
Yeah.
But not in a way, I wouldn't say darker, maybe more contrasty, I think. So it has like deeper blacks and more contrast to it, because it's not just like a dim show. It's more of having that contrast. And what Chris was mentioning, that we had this LUT pushed us to light it like we were shooting on film. Like there was actually light where you put light, and there's no light where you don't put light, which is not the case in most of like the digital workflow. it allowed us to have like more direct light, like actual hard light hitting people, which you don't see much in television nowadays, or in the digital world nowadays. Or if you see it, it's hard to do it well, I would say. Yeah, I think that for sure.
Probably one of the smartest things I've ever done for my career. It gave me all the tools that I needed to be able to jump into a new career.
Getting myself into a mindset, thinking like an editor, and being around people that I can talk to on that level was really invaluable to me.
A lot of the things that I learned from that class, I still think about.
I loved the classroom. I loved the computer stations. We built a sense of community.
And it also instills a lot of confidence in you to take that and go out into the world.
After I took the class, I felt very prepared to take the next step.
I owe Manhattan Workshop the career that I have right now.
Things have been going great, and I really have the Manhattan Workshop to thank for that.
So, I guess, Christopher, I'd love to know, when you when you got into the color suite, how do you like to work with the colorist? Because color correction now plays such a big integral role to creating the look of the series. So what is your approach working with the colorist?
I mean, for the most part, I really light it the way I want it to look. So it shouldn't be, I don't try to reinvent things unless there's like, occasionally an editor will take a scene that was supposed to be a certain time of day and move it somewhere else. And therefore I have to time it differently. But for the most part, I pretty much everything is kind of close to where it needs to be. And it's really about balancing the cut for me, and not necessarily creating something new or creating something that I had planned. I pretty much, from the mindset, like I like it to be, I light it and I present it so the dailies look very close to what it wants to be like. I found there's two different like trains of thought, and some DPs like find it later, but I like to ingrain it early, because therefore it's not a surprise later when you present a look where, like, if you kind of, some DPs light very flat and then they create it later in the in the color timing, but then it's a surprise. But if I'm trying to present it as close to it as possible.
I noticed the sort of edging was sort of blurred, almost like that old Vaseline trick, but like a lighter version of it. Was that done on set, or was that done in the color?
That's our lenses.
And that was your lenses?
Mostly
Okay.
the lenses. Occasionally,
Yes.
and Marcel might not know this, but occasionally there was times where we would have like a drone shot and it was too sharp or something like that. So I would blur a little bit of the edges or part of it just to fuck it up a little bit, because,
Yeah.
It's those lenses are hard to match if you're like using something cleaner.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are like these anamorphic lenses. Salamus Apollo, that's the name, I think, which resembles the name of the character. And they are some pretty funky anamorphic lenses with a lot of distortions on the wider end.
Yeah.
Beautiful lenses.
Yeah. Really interesting looking to them.
That was part of our fairy tale look.
Yeah. What so is there, and I guess we'll jump to you, Marcel, is there a particular scene that you're really proud of the outcome but was difficult to sort of execute?
It's hard to tell. I really like the subway scene, giving birth scene, just because it's a great it's just a good scene, and they're both great in it, I think.
Yeah.
And it's I like a long exhausting scene like that, and yeah, that was fun, and we got to shoot on the subway for 2 days and really do it the way we're supposed to do it, with the traveling train, with our lights, with our own lights in the fixtures in the subway. It was really fun to shoot it, and I love New York subway. Yeah. And just the look of it. I mean, I don't love it when they are late, but I love it. I'd love to shoot in it, and
So wait, was it like an act, like you guys were on the like?
Yeah, we were in
Because here in
Brooklyn.
Toronto, they have the secret.
I know, but this was in New York. This was
So like
in New
you
York.
actually like got on it and rode around.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
did
yeah.
they, I guess they locked off those 2 train cars for you guys.
Yeah, there is a station in downtown Brooklyn that they can lock down for shooting, and there's a So we did it there.
What were some of the difficulties in shooting that scene?
I mean, just shooting on a moving train is difficult. You have to reset for every take, go back to the station. You have to, but also like, shooting something that delicate, like giving birth, and it's just having that kind of mood and environment for the actors to support their and of course the lighting to support their performance.
Well, how about yourself, Christopher? Is there a scene that you're particularly proud of?
There was many scenes I was very proud of. Most of my work was done in Toronto. There was a scene with Apollo, and he kind of wakes up after he's been he's been tied up to a pipe chain, and me and Jonathan, the director, producer, we came up with like, it'd be great if it was raining outside, so like the walls would be dripping. So I went with that old kind of look, but I also found that like sometimes it's really hard to get that effect on certain walls because of just the logistics of the set or whatever. So I used projectors for like walls in the deep background with dripping water projected on it, and it was the first time I ever like kind of did that, and thinking, I don't know if this will work, and it worked like a charm. It was great. So basically I shot elements of water dripping down walls, and then I used a projector in certain areas where I couldn't really necessarily get an angle through the windows, because to create that look you need a lot of space, because you need hard light and to create those shadows. So sometimes your sets are not really big enough to have the lights far enough away or hard enough. So the projectors work great. So I'm very proud of that. More logistically, that was something I was trying and came up with, and it worked. So
I have one last question for you guys. What would you say is your favorite guilty pleasure film or TV show to watch? If you want, we could start with Christopher.
Well, my guilty pleasure TV show would be Columbo, but that's not necessarily anything visual or anything. It's just my.
It's not guilty at all. Columbo is amazing.
I watch it. My kids know it by heart. I know it by heart. I watch them like I've seen them all, but it's kind of my guilty pleasure. Lately, I watched Mr. Ripley, I guess it is, or on Netflix.
Ripley.
Yeah, and that's just beautiful and just eye candy. I mean, it's phenomenally gorgeous looking. So that
I just watched the first 2 episodes. They're gorgeous.
It's amazing, and it's worth just keep going, Marcel. It's like it's really beautiful.
I will.
How about yourself, Marcel? What's your favorite guilty pleasure?
I love the movie Big Daddy. I occasionally rewatch it, and I have a 5-year-old son, so I can't wait to him to turn like 7 maybe to watch it together.
That's the perfect age. I talked to the editor of what was that film called? Billy Madison, and he said none of us got his sense of humor until they had a kid came with someone one day, and they sat down and the kid laughed through the whole film, and they're like, "Oh, we've got something here."
I think it's an amazing movie.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for allowing me to interview you today.
Sure.
Thank you.
And Marcel, are you working on something right now, or are you just?
I'm in Europe. Yeah, I'm in Europe. I'm in Slovenia right now. I'm on a commercial.
Oh, good for you.
Where are you?
I'm in Shelter Island working on my vegetable garden.
Good for you, actually.
But I just finished like a year-long job, so I'm kind of happy not to be working. So
yeah, you deserve some rest.
Exactly. All right. Well, I hope to see you soon sometime.
Hope to see you soon. Great to see you.
All right, man.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
And
bye.
That's our show for this week, everyone. Make sure to check us out at filmmakeru.com or, of course, on Instagram at filmmaker_u. I'm Gordon Burkell. Thanks for watching.